Good afternoon. This is Thursday, May 5th, and you're watching Indian Time here on MuskogeeMedia.com. I'm Jessica McBride, Media Coordinator.
I'm Sterling Cosper, I'm Muskogee Nation News Editor.
We're going to talk about a couple of updates today. The Health, Education, and Welfare Committee for the National Council has put out their agenda for Monday, and there's a couple of things on it to note. The first one, we've got updated tarot legislation. And Jared, if you'll pull that up. This, and I'll go ahead and read it. It talks about the Tarot Act being enacted in September of 2012, and that its intent was to get tribal citizens jobs, tribal companies work, but has not risen to the level of that it was anticipated. And it appears that this is a repeal of the tarot legislation back from 2012.
And of note, TARO stands for Tribal Employment Rights Office or Ordinance. Currently, there is a whole department overseeing the operations of that law, and it looks like it's just a one-page bill. I'm proposing to repeal it, sponsored by Adam Jones. Am I correct?
I believe so. Now, this will go through the Health, Education, and Welfare Committee for Council on Monday at 2 p.m. Now, these committee meetings are not live streamed, but the audio will be available probably a day after the committee session is complete. So we'll keep an eye on this for you and be there at the meeting. Yes, I will be at the meeting. Another item, and we'll go right here. Another item that's on that session is provisions for the election board. Now, this amendment or proposed amendment is sponsored by Representative Dodie Barnett. This says any person who uses the name, logo, telephone number, or mark of the Muskogee Creek Nation Election Board in any way without the election board's express written consent shall, upon conviction, be guilty of a misdemeanor. And so this will be another thing that council reviews. That committee session is Monday at 2 o'clock.
We have a little bit more insight as to the reasoning behind this, hopefully.
Right. A lot of times in the committee sessions, they discuss some of these things in detail. And you get to hear from the entities that the bill concerns and things like that.
And it seems like there's been a lot of things to do with the election board ahead of the last general election and also following it. We had the campaign finance bill, among other things. One thing we saw from the quarterly report on last council meeting, the session we were going through, and it was pointed out that there were some odd numbers. You see, for that general election, that was submitted by the election board for Chief Floyd's quarterly report.
And that's from page 50.
Yep. And by the way, folks, this is available online on the Muskogee Creek Nation homepage. It should be the first thing that pops up on the slideshow. At least that's how it sits now.
And the quarterly report, this is from the second quarter, so from January, February, and March of 2016. This will be the first quarter of Chief Floyd's term in office as principal chief. And this includes reports from multiple entities within the Creek Nation, departments, independent agencies, etc. Now, the page we're looking at right now has to deal with the election board and the numbers that they're reporting. We have a couple of questions concerning some of these numbers, and so we've reached out to the election board to get some clarification on that.
Now, could you talk about just specifically what the...
Yeah, we have here, guys, is you'll see on the far left general voters. Now, that's who all voted in the last election, and when you add precinct absentee, which logically is what we expect, that you get your total number of voters. However, we have this other column that says total voters, and that's what we put an inquiry about. Oddly enough, if you add or times that general voters numbers by 2, it comes out with that total voters number. We just don't know what the reasoning behind that would be. So we have an inquiry out. We asked them yesterday afternoon, and we have not heard back as of yet. Also, we sent an inquiry to them we had heard that the election board was meeting with Chief Floyd regarding bringing in the Carter Center. That was another thing that came up there ahead of last election. It was a little bit midnight hour, if I recall correctly. That was in between the primary and the general election, and they never actually enacted it. However, we heard that they were going to consider their future involvement. Now, this is an organization started by former President Jimmy Carter to come in voluntarily and oversee elections and give their insight as to where the process can improve. Locally, probably the most familiar entity would be Cherokee Nation, has had them in the past. So apparently they're considering future involvement in our elections, so we'll have to keep an eye on it.
We saw that legislation appear at committee last month, and it was postponed 1 month during the committee session so that the election board had time to meet with Chief Floyd.
Yeah, so we'll be keeping an eye on that and other things to do with the election board, and keep you all posted as those things arise.
Anything else you have for
I don't
today?
think so, Jessica.
Jared? Nothing else?
We're good.
Okay, well, thank you for watching. Keep in mind, stay looking at our website, www.muskogeemedia.com. Of course, follow us on Facebook, the Muskogee Nation News and Native News Today, and Muskogee Media. Our Twitter pages, Native News Today and Muskogee Nation News. And we're on Instagram, too, for Muskogee Media. Keep an eye on those pages for updates, and we'll see you tomorrow.